Good afternoon. My name is Deborah Pratt Johnson Burns, and I am the founder of Literacy to Legacy Mentors, Reframing Your Financial Future. Today's guest is Frederick T.A. Bollaci. He is a Florida-based 19-year estates and trust attorney. Today, we're talking about the estate planning strategies, tips, and solutions in a COVID era. So please help me welcome Fred Bollaci. Fred, look forward to hearing your thoughts.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you, Deborah. It's an honor and pleasure to meet everybody out there in computer land virtually. I look forward to sharing the next few minutes with you and bringing everybody up to speed on the incredible changes going on in my world and sharing with you how a trusted estates attorney can help you achieve your goals and navigate these uncharted waters of COVID-19.
Outstanding, Fred. I think a lot of people on the call and who are watching today are coming into this era very concerned, not only for the situations they find themselves in, but also for their friends and family and others who really do not know how to navigate the trust and estate world. So if you would so kindly share with us what has changed in the industry in the past 18 months, and what are the solutions that you're offering clients so that they can navigate this much easier and much less stress-filled?
Well, glad to, Deborah. In the last 19 years of practice here in Florida, my typical clients have been folks ranging anywhere in age from typically mid to late 50s, right up into their 70s and beyond. Had my oldest client a couple of weeks ago who was 95. But typically an average age, I mean, if you want to say a median age for my clientele here in Florida in the past 19 years is probably mid 60s, 65-ish.
Okay.
And a startling statistic I'm going to share with you is that some 50% of adults here in the United States, that's anybody over 18 all the way up through their retirement age and beyond, more than half of Americans do not have any kind of will whatsoever, which is shocking.
That's a frightening proposition.
Absolutely, because I've seen it firsthand. I mean, people come into me preferably long before anything to plan it out, what they want to have done with their assets, who's going to make their healthcare decisions in the event they're unable to, or manage their financial affairs. We want to do this in a convivial, friendly setting. I mean, this is not a daunting thing. I mean, we're all eventually going to leave this earth, and we want to be able to do so in a way that we can sustain and enhance our legacy and leave our loved ones, those that we care about the most, our assets and free from headache and heartache and any kind of unnecessary stress or strain at a time that's going to definitely be emotional, to say the least. So these are very important decisions, and we want to make this as easy as possible. I mean, I'm not somebody that you should be afraid of. I want you to come to me, call me, and let's get a plan in place. It's simpler and easier than most people think. Just a simple will can be done, and simple documents in a couple of hours, it could be done. I do them for people the same week. And my simple document package starts at around $750. Anything a little more complicated, could be trusts, could be guardianships and stuff, people with kids, that gets a little more complicated, but I'm happy to handle it. I've dealt with a lot, and I'd rather deal with things and help you when there's no stress at all at your leisure than have you come to me in a desperate situation, which we're going to get into. The biggest change in my industry in the past year and a half has been the average age of my clientele has dropped some 20, 25 years. So I'm going to be 44 next month. So just to give an example, most of my clientele 2 years ago, before COVID, were people 50, 60, 70s, 80s, people, empty nesters, retirement age, moving to Florida for buying property here, relocating to the Sunshine State for our weather and our tax advantages.
Sure.
Buying a second home here. change in life, second marriage, stuff like that. People thinking about these things. I mean, most people in their 20s and 30s, most of my friends and colleagues have never given any thought to this. And I mean, we all, in our 20s and 30s think we're invincible.
Right.
And I mean, up until this past year and a half, most of us believe that. And now the average age of my clientele, I have more people coming into me now to address their estate plan, wills, trusts, guardianships, powers of attorney, healthcare documents due to COVID, because they're seeing people around them, their friends, their family, their colleagues, people that are also in their 20s, 30s, and 40s, suffering from this erratic and crazy, horrible disease.
Right.
And
so Fred, when someone wants to come to you, sort of what are the steps that you take them through? I think people, and our viewers in particular, they're curious about, what do I need to do? How much do I need to pay? When do I pay for it? What will I get at the end of the day? How often do I need to refresh these documents? Do they need witnessing? Where do we do that? The how, the who, what, when, where, and how of tele-law is really what I'd love to know.
Happy to get into all of that. And yes, this past year and a half, in addition to the age of my clientele, most of them being younger than me now, I have people in my 20s and 30s coming in for the first time who never in a million years would have given any thought to any of this. So typically what I would do is I offer a complimentary half-hour consultation with anybody. I mean, if you happen to have a will or estate planning documents, trusts, power of attorney, healthcare documents and stuff, either from Florida or another state, I'm happy to look at it and review it. And if you don't have anything, I'm happy to meet with you and review. I have a questionnaire, a standard questionnaire that I go over with you.
Great.
I can give you in advance, if you have the time, but if time is of the essence, which I'm finding more and more these days with COVID, people are just desperate to get it done and get it done as simply and efficiently as possible. Like I'll have a meeting either by phone or by Zoom with people. Normally, people would either come to me or I would go to their home or office anywhere in South Florida, Palm Beach to Miami, and Sarasota, Naples, Tampa Bay, and Boca Grande are my main markets. So basically the east and west coasts of South Florida. And
relocation people, right, from different states around the world.
I would say at least half of the people I deal with are coming to Florida and have either documents from another state and they need to have Florida documents, or would be preferable, especially the healthcare documents in our state. But many people move here and they have no idea what to do. I mean, not even where to go register their car or register to vote or declaring domicile and all the advantages that come, homestead exemption for property owners in the state.
Right.
So I help people through all of that in addition to the estate plan. So I really am your go-to guy in Florida, and I'm mobile. And as a result of the pandemic, I mean, we're doing Zoom today, which presents its own opportunities and unique challenges as well with the technology and stuff, not always being perfect. But we're doing our intro calls either on the phone or Zoom, as opposed to going and meeting in person for the most part, especially because of lockdowns and fear and masking, and people just are really frightened and don't want to go out and risk catching this thing. So I'm happy to meet with people on Zoom, and I do that frequently. I mean, I went from basically my business shut down in March and April of 2020. I mean, I went from being busy to having nobody for a couple months. The whole world was shell-shocked.
Sure.
And really come about early June, I mean, the phone and the email, I mean, really started ringing off the hook, and I'm doing, 5 or 6 estate plans for people a week. And most of them are younger than me.
Thank you for mentioning that, because I'm sure the demand will continue in light of what we're seeing with the variants. But what I wanted to also press a point to, and that is, you have a number of partners, right? And you have people that are in different states that you counsel with. So I think those two facets, in addition to your age, are also advantages of really counseling with you.
Well, I mean, you can't do it all. And Florida is a unique place because most of the people who live in Florida come from someplace else. another state, another country. So we're frequently conferencing in attorneys and CPAs and financial planners from other states or jurisdictions to work together to craft an appropriate plan and strategy for our clients here.
Right.
So typically I would meet with people by Zoom now. I mean, 90% of my consultations now are by Zoom. A
Mhm.
few people, are not that technologically up to date yet. So this past year and a half, we've had to get very creative. I mean, the initial Zoom meeting, get all the information, and we've been executing estate documents and powers of attorney, healthcare proxies, and whatever in parking lots. I mean, getting witnesses.
Whatever it takes.
Yeah, I mean, pull up in a parking lot. I mean, it looks like some sort of clandestine deal going on. It's like I've got the notary stamp. We're doing it on the back of cars. I mean, I'm there in a suit, sweating bullets on a hot Florida afternoon in the middle of summer.
Right.
And, we're out, we could be out in a parking lot someplace. I mean,
I
it's
think the good
not
news is
ideal.
you get it done, no matter
Have to
what
get
it
it done.
takes.
I mean,
That's
we've
right.
faced challenges. I mean, with clients that are in the hospital, I mean, hooked
Right.
up machines with COVID, which is
Right.
a very unfortunate situation. And you don't want to go there, but a lot of people my age or younger are now in the hospital with COVID. I mean, I just heard this past week, the new statistic at Tampa General, one of the biggest hospitals on the west coast of Florida.
Right.
The average age is 45 in ICU. Sarasota Memorial is completely full. I mean, it's same in Broward. I mean, Palm Beach.
Right.
It's
So we could be
unprecedented.
revisiting numbers and statistics that we saw at the beginning of the pandemic, correct?
I've seen a blip in the last couple of weeks. I mean, as far as people reaching out to me, all of a sudden, it's like we hit a bit of a lull, and I was getting back to more traditional planning, longer term, that people come in and, over the course of a few meetings, we craft an appropriate plan and, give people the opportunity to get comfortable, and we maybe meet for coffee or lunch or something, and we get it done, and actually meeting people in person. But that's all changed really rapidly, turned on a dime in the past couple of weeks, that now I'm getting calls. Like I got one last week, and it's like, I need something done. Nobody can get me in. It's like, a friend recommended you, help. I'm desperate.
Right.
My spouse is in the hospital with COVID, and we have nothing. We have
Okay.
kids, minor kids, 6 and 9 years old, and we have absolutely no idea what to do. So my whole goal is to take those people's hands. I mean, I can't go into the hospital, but, talk to the spouse that's not in the hospital, meet them in the parking lot after our Zoom consultation,
Sure.
have a Zoom conference with the spouse that's in the hospital, and this takes a lot of being creative and calling in favors and just being nice, but also persistent with the hospital staff.
Oh,
the
sure.
nurses. I mean, they've been dealing with this, and I mean, it's critically important that it gets done. So people using their phones and their tablets and whatever else, we just do whatever we can to get it done. I mean, this is not something that should be weighing on you heavily. We want to make this, just take this out of the equation, get this done.
Right.
You don't even
Right.
have to think about it. This is the last thing you should be thinking about. But it's so
Fred, tell
important.
me, I'm a client. I'm a new client. I need your help. Take me through the 4 documents, the process, how long it takes, and what I'll get at the end. That would be so super helpful right now.
Absolutely. So for a majority, I would say 80% of my clients, all they need is 4 documents. And I offer, it's basically my Florida Simple Will package. So you have a will, which talks about the disposition of your assets, burial, and, it can talk about contingencies, typically spouses to each other and children, or, if somebody's not there, then who would take their place, stuff like that. They also have a separate writing in the back, like if you want to leave, your wristwatch or your baby grand piano or some piece of artwork to people
Right.
differently than would be named in the will, you spell that out at the end of it. So it's a simple document, and it's something that everybody should have. We also get into strategies as far as how to avoid probate. So, I mean, a
Sure.
will is basically it's a catch-all. Everybody needs to have one, but to avoid probate, which means that a court gets involved and has to appoint somebody to oversee the estate. It incurs expenses and they freeze assets, and it can take months.
Mhm.
And it's just a big headache and hassle for a lot of people. So to avoid the probate process, even if you don't have a will, there are some simple planning strategies that I get into with clients as far as joint ownership, on deeds or bank accounts,
Mhm.
pay on death or designated beneficiaries of things like stock portfolios or
Hmm.
IRAs, beneficiaries of 401ks or pension plans. There's just a whole series of things that can really be done very simply to
Mhm.
make the process so much easier for people. And I walk you through that in addition to executing the documents. So the first document is, the simple will. Then you get into the power of attorney, which is something that everybody should have. And you want to pick somebody that you trust. So these are questions that, I basically become a counselor, a therapist, and somebody that becomes intimately acquainted with clients, often in a less than ideal situation, that they're desperate at these in these times to get
Right.
this stuff done. They don't even know what they need to have done. So I try to explain this to them and hold their hand and offer the support. And many people are weeping and very emotional because they're
Sure.
dealing with emotional things, the prospect of, their ultimate demise. But, when somebody's in the hospital or they've lost friends or family to COVID,
Right.
colleagues, whatever, this is very emotionally charged and sensitive. So you have to be a good listener. You have to be empathetic. I've been there. I've helped a lot of people through this, hundreds and hundreds of people over
Right.
the last 19 years, all different aspects, phases, scenarios of the estate planning world, from document preparation and strategy all the way through people come in with probate or various scenarios, tax strategy, etc. So we deal with it all.
Great. That's wonderful. And
And
this cost, as you mentioned, is $750, and someone would go to your website, fredbollacilaw.com.
fredbollacilaw.com. You can call me, email me, find me, fredbollacilaw.com. So the power of attorney document is the second one. It's basically who you want to have take care of your financial and other affairs. It's basically giving somebody else the legal authority to stand in your shoes in the event that you're unable to. So to pay your
Understood.
bills, for instance, which is very
Okay.
important. I mean,
That is.
mortgage payment or rent, and, for whatever reason, you're in the hospital or incapacitated temporarily or whatever, you don't want to wake up one day and find that, you lost your house or you were evicted on top of it all.
Right.
So
Right.
it's a very important document. It's very simple. The third document is your living will, which
Mhm.
expresses, and it's critically important, especially in Florida, that they don't take out-of-state documents for healthcare. So you want to have your living will spelled out in Florida as far as heroic measures in the event of, let's say you're in a end-stage condition, or you're terminally ill. Do you wish to be prolonged, artificially resuscitated, feeding tubes, ventilators, stuff like that? And I find a majority of my clients think about this, and it's very emotional, but most of them decide that they do not wish to. So that's the third one. And the fourth one is your designation of healthcare surrogate, we call it in Florida. Other states, they call it your healthcare proxy. So this is the person or people that you would entrust, typically in an order of succession. So, a lot of people would name their spouse, or maybe a child, or, a doctor that they know to make a healthcare decision, somebody that they trust, and that they've expressed their wishes to. It's all going to be in writing, but this is the person who would ultimately have the legal authority to act and to specify in writing to a hospital that these are the person's wishes, and the person either wishes to have whatever treatment if they can't make that decision for their, make their wishes known, or do not wish to have any more treatment, and here are the documents. And there are a few other steps involved, but this is your simple will package. They start at $750. I do a discount for couples. So we start at $1,200 for a married couple, as long as it's simple. When we get into situations with guardianship or blended families, step families, Brady Bunch families, I grew up in one, where it's, more complicated. the price goes up, I mean, accordingly.
Understandably,
We
sure,
want to we
absolutely.
want to make it as simple as possible. And in maybe 20% of our cases, we get involved with actual trust preparation, which it takes some more work and strategy as far as developing it and doing the proper paperwork and filings, and then helping the client transfer the assets into the trust.
Right.
Because I've had people come to me, oh, they had a trust. There's nothing in the trust. They never transferred anything to the trust. So
That's
you have
frightening.
you have a piece of paper. So somebody died and they have, the heir comes with a piece of paper. Oh, everything's in the trust. There's nothing in the trust. You have to transfer everything in. So we help clients do all that.
I see. Okay. This is really, really thorough and very interesting. And the good news is, A, it's simple. B, it's really reasonably priced. C, you're accessible and you're young. So you have been in this industry for 20 years and all of your clients that are coming in are much younger than they ever have been. So you can relate to them, right? And they to you. And then lastly, this is what, going to take maybe a week or two max? Is that really what we're looking at?
My record time is I've gotten it done the same day. Typically,
Whoa, okay.
typically, I mean, just because of the demand that I'm seeing lately,
Sure.
I mean, has just spiked again in the last couple of weeks. I mean, I'm booked out next week. I'm in the Tampa area this weekend doing estate work with people. I'm back over in Palm Beach County next week.
Great.
And then I'm back in Sarasota the following week. So I'm booking out now 2 weeks in advance.
That's great. That's great. You have the capacity and you have partners and you have, the opportunity is available to anyone who's interested.
But literally, I mean, if somebody called and it was a dire situation, they couldn't get anybody else, especially somebody that comes in, and a majority of my business is referrals, which I'm very, very grateful for.
Right.
High school colleagues, college, law school, and graduate school folks, old neighbors, friends of friends.
I love it.
Coworkers, et cetera, et cetera. And I really appreciate the referrals and being able to help people. And that's typically how people find me. But if somebody comes in, there's a desperate situation. I had a call, about a month ago, somebody in Daytona Beach. I mean, it's the same state, but it's not a market that I serve. It's just not convenient. And they just said that they couldn't get anybody in Daytona to see them or give them the time of day. Everybody's just slammed. And I said, well, my cousin referred you. I'm happy to help you. I did everything for them online, emailed them everything with explicit instructions and walked them through as far as what to do, as far as it had to be signed and witnessed by 2 people plus a notary. And
well, how fortunate are they? I think that's wonderful.
Have all the documents, $750. I mean, we have to get creative and help people now because people are desperate. These
Absolutely.
are uncharted waters. We've never seen anything like this. And we want to make your lives as easy as possible now. And in the eventuality that something happens to all of us, we want to leave everything as simple and clean as possible for those we care about. So that's really our goal here. I mean, I love what I do. I love the strategy. I love helping people. And I love when people come back years later. I mean, I dealt with the grandparents maybe 20 years ago when I first started practicing. Then the parents, their kids come in. And now I'm dealing with the grandkids.
So it's a legacy business. I love it. Everything having to do with literacy to legacy for that matter. So that's fabulous.
People come back because they were pleased with how smoothly things went, and that I saved them possibly money as far as in estate taxes or dealing with creditors, or just a lot of simple strategies plus the hand-holding. People, this is very, very sensitive stuff. And it's just like with anything else, like your doctor or anybody you go to, you could have all the degrees. I mean, you could have more degrees than a thermometer, but you have to have the bedside manner. I mean, you have to be able to put yourself in their shoes. And I'm not just a clinician or somebody who's just going to spit out wills and not take the time to actually get to know you and understand what's going on. Because if you take an extra few minutes to get to understand and know what's going on with somebody, what they're all about, to understand the dynamics, to get to talk to them, I mean, to really look at their eyes and, read them on a soul level. I mean, you're going to find out things and you're going to learn things about the people that, typically a lawyer who's just cranking out, pushing paper, that just looks at this as a line of work rather than a calling, you're going to miss things.
Right.
And I'm able to find things and come up with strategies and identify issues that, you know, the extra few minutes of getting to know somebody is going to bring out, which if you're just there, just, you know, sign on the dotted line, people are going to miss. So it's important that people have somebody they can relate to and they can trust. I mean, it's today, 78% of millennials still, these are folks 18 to 36, do not have a will or any documents.
It's a very frightening statistic, Fred.
So
Very.
I'm here to change that. I'm here to change
right.
the perception of estate planning. It's not something for old people. It's not something that you should be afraid of. You know, this was, you know, in my family and in most families, nobody ever wanted to talk about it. It's just like, you know, the boogeyman in the closet. We can't talk about, you know,
money, sex, religion, and politics.
That's religion, politics, death. We're never going to die. We're going to live forever. I mean, but you know, it's you know, this is just the reality. I mean,
right.
We have to change the perception of this industry. We want to have as many people as possible, even without COVID. I mean, COVID is a horrible thing that's going on, and everybody is frightened and uncertain, but it has driven the point home that people do need these kind of plans. And maybe if something positive could come from this
Absolutely.
horrific thing. You know, we've got more young people, and I'm sure that statistic is going to change dramatically. I've seen it in my business. My colleagues have shared the same thoughts, the same things are happening all over the country, that the average age is down, and people in their 20s and 30s who never would have thought about this stuff are in, and they're doing the responsible thing for themselves, their kids, their spouses, their families. And despite the fact that this is just a trying time, that is one very positive thing I'm seeing, that people are coming in and they are making these very, very important decisions.
That's excellent, Fred. Well, thank you so much for coming today. And the good news is that Fred is also going to be speaking on September 22nd about the influx of people from big cities into smaller towns and suburbs, and what that entails in terms of legal documents, which a number of people do not know about either. So you're going to enlighten them, which is delightful. So thank you so very much for your time today. We look forward to seeing you on the 22nd of September. Please do visit fredbollaccilaw.com. He will give you a complimentary consultation. And please visit my website, literacytolegacymentors.net, and request a complimentary consultation, a mentoring package, or please grab a seat at one of my upcoming events. Thank you so very much for your time today, and have a tremendous afternoon.